Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to the video. So in this message, I want to share with you that acceptance is a holding of space. It's a receptive holding of space and allowance for something to be it an event or an experience in your life, or also a person, or an emotion. So acceptance suggests a state of non-resistance and a sense of surrender also. Acceptance is like encapsulating, allowing, like a female womb, like a hollow, a holding, an environment, a space of safety, an allowance for something to be without judging it or condemning it, criticizing it or putting it down. It's an allowance. So a practical tip, everybody, there's energy, this is all energetic, okay, and it's also related to higher perspective or spiritual truth of things, which helps to allow us to accept things. For example, if we're sick or we have a loss, or we get like a breakup of a relationship, divorce, we lose our job, somebody dies. What is truest is to honor and accept emotions that come up. Second of all, to realize and to know our true self. If we can self-realize ourselves as the I at the center of our heart, the I that we are at the center of our being, at the center of our experience, the I that's been there at every stage and moment in your life, always here, always present in this now moment of eternity, infinity, always now. It's never been then, or it's always now. Then was now also. So if we cannot attach and identify ourselves as our hobbies, what we love, the roles that we are, such as parent, mother, father, son, our job, our bodies, male, female, tall, young, old. These are all labels. Everything is all information. At the center of it all is the I that is experiencing everything, that doesn't age or grow old. It's just there, whether or not you're male or female in the physical body. So, to surrender, I was listening today, is to be transparent. It's very, like Eckhart Tolle also says, like translucent, allowable, allowing to what is. So allowing is more holding a facilitation, a space for healing to happen and for energy to be released, such as emotions and crying or shaking or whatever it is. From a space of spiritual truth or non-attachment and non-identification and allowance, and even surrendering to a life experience. And that doesn't mean not to care, it means not to be attached. For example, in my life, I say, okay, I don't know anything almost. The only thing I kind of know is that I am, and that I have always been so far in this lifetime. What I know is that the more I learn and experience in life, is the more I don't know. I know I don't know almost everything. So it's what some people could call a humble state of beginner's mind, or receptiveness, openness to life. I don't know what the future holds, and I know in the past I thought I knew and I didn't, and I made so many mistakes and I became attached. So to live a fruitful, a very peaceful and happy life, one needs to be non-attached to circumstances and what's happening on the outside. Because our higher self, we've chosen to come into this life, okay? Our higher self, or the operators outside of the matrix, our spirit guides, angels, or source, us in our deeper infinity, our oversoul, for example, we know what we want coming onto this roller coaster of life. We know what we want for ourselves, basically, okay? But as the human, we don't know. We've come here with an agreement to not remember everything, because that defeats the purpose of the ride, if we knew everything and we knew we were so-called dreaming, it just wouldn't be the same experience. We wouldn't be as intense or emotional. It wouldn't be the same experience at all. I don't want to remember my past lives or this, or like what I am in the spirit world, like infinite soul. This life wouldn't be exactly the same experience that way. So Krishnamurti, when he was an Indian philosopher, when he was like close to dying on his deathbed, somebody asked him, Krishnamurti, what is your secret to life and happiness and peace? And he said, I don't mind what happens. Something like that. I think they were the words he spoke. So that's about surrender. I don't mind what happens because I'm not attached to any particular thing happening or not happening. So being open and surrendering to life is to know, in my experience, that things come along in my life out of the blue. People, relationships, connections. So do losses. Losing of friends, friendships, health, living places where I'm staying in or traveling in, countries. My plans, that's a huge one. My plans and what works out changes extensively. So when you're attached, you're fixated on your plan, and you're like a solid object that's going to crash with the breeze. There's a famous suggestion, instead of being like the oak tree that's solid, that crashes in the storm, like to be like the reed, the piece of grass that goes and it stays alive. So right now in my life, the biggest thing I'm happiest about is simply knowing that I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know so many stuff about myself and people and how to have like good life or good relationships sometimes, or like how to handle situations. So it's a very peaceful place to be in, to know, to have loving compassion and acceptance on yourself and everybody else too at the same time, that we're all just doing our best with limited information and knowledge, and we're doing our best based on how well we know how to be emotionally mature and to manage our traumas and emotions related to the past. So I have so much peace, like love and compassion in my heart for other people. It's like touching for me to say that. It almost brings like tears to my eye, almost like a watery eye. Probably because I've suffered a lot in the past, and as a result, it's like given me the ability to have a heart that's open and sensitive to other people's pain. So my objective right now is to be able to act more lovingly from my heart in a way another person actually feels loved and it works for them. To nurture truly instead of aggravate or criticize, blame or hurt anybody. I will speak my truth, but from the deepest heart places possible. And I want to share with you some of the tips that I've been learning lately, okay? How to do this more. One is to accept, surrender and love the pain that arises within you and allow it to be released through whatever form you want that's safe and not hurtful to anybody. For me, I just feel bad, cry, shed a tear, feel low, whatever the case may be, and then I'm letting out the past pain and my hurts and my attachments, the suffering of attachment and the suffering of past emotional pain that's stored in my body. The second thing to do in real life, in the moment, when you're dealing with triggers or emotions or complications with people or in life, is to slow down and take a break and stop for a moment before you reply. Try and hold a healing space and a quietness space for people to express themselves and to deeply listen and to deeply look, and that talking is like the more primitive form of communication. The body language and tone of voice and intonation of your voice, that's like more important than the words you speak. Deep listening and your energy, holding a receptiveness and love and compassion and care is better than arguing and talking and stimulating people who are already upset. Similarly, when you're upset, don't start like distracting yourself from your pain. Let yourself feel the pain and let it out. You have to do that. It has to be days, weeks, or hours of letting out feeling pain, letting it happen. You're not doing it, you're just letting it happen by itself. You don't want to also feed a negative story and be the victim and to be attached or identified, as I said earlier, because that just feeds and creates more pain and makes the pain last forever. You're like become now the victim identity. You're the story of your pain, but that's not who you are at all. So that's not true. So the truth will set you free. So in my life, I found breathing in life to be very beneficial. And basically talk a lot less and listen more, much more. Take your time in your responses and agree with people more, like honor their truth, agree with their emotions, so to speak. You don't have to become like a fake liar and agree with things you don't really agree with, but you don't have to resist the things you don't necessarily agree with, especially somebody's emotion or your own emotion. So I find when I don't resist, like I don't create a wall like against somebody, like the Buddhist Eastern teachings of acceptance, love, compassion and surrender and deep listening. What happens is they come around themselves to understand their own ways and triggers or hurts, their own possible addictions or coping mechanisms, such as like drinking, then acting bad with the drink or other stuff. Even just like being emotionally a bit more like immature, undeveloped, which we all are, and I am totally too still. You let someone express themselves without the resistance, being a bit quiet so they can hold the healing space of love and compassion. People come around then, because when you don't judge them or resist them, they tend to self-reflect at their own behaviour much more. Not everybody, but some people. At least if they're a little bit on the conscious path. And if they're totally not on the conscious path, then we don't have to be in a relationship with anyone who's like too destructive or unconscious for too long. But we can leave or communicate with love and compassion and try and understand them most of all. As like Teal Swan says, like, don't try and love people, understand them. And I agree. Often we try love, but it doesn't work. It's not the love that they want or that works for them. So that's what I was talking about earlier. So anyway, learn as much as possible about your partner also. Learn as much as possible about someone you're dating, or at least about your partner too, for sure. Learn what works for them and what fills and ticks their boxes, and learn about like what people want, need and expect in a relationship. And when it can be worked out and collaborated together, then you can have a good relationship. There needs to be the connection, the intimacy and of honesty. Have a nice day, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I hope this video helped. Take care and lots of love. Blessings and love, and thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Yeah.